Good morning. We're up early this morning. Decided I'm going to go ahead and try and get all the videos for the week recorded this morning. So if you happen to see me in the same clothes, no, it's not that I'm not changing my clothes every day. I'm trying to get them all. I'm going to do all the videos this morning for the rest of the week. Now, a couple things before we get started. I was going through everybody's work yesterday. We've still got a lot of people who have some stuff here and there missing. Yeah, there's a few people that have, like, the whole time missing stuff. But we also have some people that are have an assignment missing here and there, over there. So make sure over the next few weeks or over the next few days, you are going into Google Classroom and overlooking and seeing if there's anything you're missing. Go ahead and get those blank spots filled in. All right. Today we're getting into, yesterday we talked about civil rights and Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. Today we're covering Martin Luther King's assassination. And one thing you can take from that is a lot of people weren't really surprised. Let's look at it that way. King himself probably wouldn't have been surprised if he had lived through the shooting. He probably himself wouldn't have been surprised. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. But I think what you do see is an entire population of people, namely not just African Americans, but anybody that believed in King's message. Because let's face it, not a lot of politicians are gonna speak for that. Anybody that believed in King's message, so you could be white, you could be African American, you can be Hispanic, whatever, right? If you believed in people being treated equally, you believed in Martin Luther King. And so when he died, there was a lot of people who didn't believe that there was any hope. At that point, when he died, they gave up hope. There were a lot of people that gave up hope. So the man that shot Martin Luther King, his name was James Earl Ray. We'll get to it here in just a second. But the speech that you're going to listen to first on your document, the mountaintop speech, was that speech was given down in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you go to Memphis today, you can see the spot where Martin Luther King was shot. You can go into the warehouse across the street and look from the spot where his assassin shot him from. So even the can of beer is still there. It's pretty spot on. So I highly recommend you go and check that out at some point. But let's go ahead and get to it. Where did the speech take place? Just said Memphis. As you're watching the speech, write down the creepiest thing you hear. For me, I love the speech. I think this is my favorite. It might be my favorite speech of all time. No, it's not, because it's his last one. I think one kid one year made that comment, "Hey, it's his last one." That has nothing to do with it. This speech makes you want to run through a brick wall. It's very motivating. I would definitely have any of my teams listen to it and before a game, no question about it. But the creepiest thing you hear in the speech is, like, King. There are remarks where it shows that King knows he may not survive all this. There are remarks where King says he's lived a good life. And oh, by the way, he's given the speech with like 103-degree fever, right? We've heard about Michael Jordan's flu game. We need to talk about Martin Luther King's fever speech. Okay, this is it. And it is incredible. He gave it 103-degree fever, and he pulled it off. That gets overlooked a lot. All right, so the creepiest thing, I'm going to let you decide for yourself on that in that video. Why is the speech an example of King's toughness? I just said it, 103-degree fever. 103. And he still gives it. That's how much he believed in the cause. Him doing a no-show wasn't an option for him. And one thing I also say about leadership too, they don't like to, if they're not at their if they don't have their A game, if they are worried about being looked at in an unflattering light, they won't show up. A lot of politicians are that way. They, if they have 103-degree fever, if they're looking bad, they're not going to show up because they don't want everybody thinking that, knowing that they're sick or that they're, which in a way itself is kind of creepy because, I mean, you are human, right? Even despite becoming an elected official, you still are human. And God knows I've probably been to plenty of pancake breakfasts with a 100-degree fever. So, maybe. So, I know there are plenty of days I've come and taught with a fever. So, it's unusual to see politicians behave that way and make those and be that, take themselves that seriously. King believed in his cause. I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come and speak. I don't care how sick I am. He deserves props for that. All right, so after King is killed, Bobby Kennedy, yes, the younger brother of John F. Kennedy, gives a speech. And I want you to watch this speech because, to me, the reaction is spot on when it comes to, especially the African American community, how it responded to King's speech. You hear horror. It very much sounds like a scream from a horror movie. And Kennedy does a good job. He gives a good speech. And, what reasoning does Kennedy give for people to not become violent? That's the question you need to answer. And I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler. Kennedy tells the crowd, this is up in Indianapolis. Kennedy tells the crowd, my brother was shot by a white man too. He identifies with the crowd, and he sees it as a common ground. And he urges people not to become violent. He urges people. This isn't what Martin Luther King would have wanted. So, I don't think it worked for the most part, but maybe it did with that particular crowd. So, okay, I'm going to let you guys work on this on your own. I'm going to sign off, and then I'm going to record tomorrow's video. All right, be good.